Welcome back. We broadcast live from SEC Media Days in Nashville, Tennessee. And this guy I've known for quite some time. He's now with On3 and he's about to crush it with podcast galore. Andy Staples, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. We got a couple shows out. We gonna keep making more shows, and it just keeps going day after day. And it's interesting because I've been a writer for so long, and that's been the primary thing. When people ask me what I do now, I'm like, it's a great question. I make a video show on YouTube that is also a podcast.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense to the olds, but the kids know what I'm talking about.
And the kids are important because they're the next wave. Well, tell us about what the plan is for the show at On3 and what you hope to bring to the table.
Well, it's going to be the second best college football show in America. But no, we're hoping it becomes your favorite college football show and part of your daily rotation. It'll be out on YouTube Sunday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And so if you're a podcast listener, it'll be Monday through Friday. It'll be ready for your commute. And, it just depends on how you want to take it. We want to kind of get it to you however you want, because I do find that the older audience wants a podcast. The younger folks want to watch things on YouTube. And so we just want to make it the most fun college football show. There's a lot of different college football shows, but some of them are way too serious. Some of them are they're just focused on one conference or another. We're doing the whole country, and we are leaning into the fact that college football is the most fun sport in the world. I mean, think about how insane this sport is. Think about the end of the Tennessee-Alabama game last year, and that scene. You don't get that in any other sport.
No, it's a great point. Andy Staples joining us with On3 now, and Andy, let me get your perspective since you kind of turned it towards football. Out of what Tennessee has been able to do, I was pretty stunned. I thought 8 wins last year would have been doable.
Yeah.
9 would have been a good season, and then boom, there they go. What did you think?
I was very impressed. I thought they had overachieved a little bit in Josh Heupel's first year relative to what he inherited, because they had remember, everybody's jumping into the transfer portal after Pruitt got fired. You didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know if they'd be any good. So they come out and they're not only adequate that first year, but you saw a lot of potential there. But then you think about, okay, now Florida's got a new coach. At that point Kentucky's rolling, and they're bringing back Will Levis, who's a first-round draft pick type player. And you thought, okay, so do they regress to the mean a little bit here? No, they just kept going, and they got better and better. And I think you kind of realized it by the time you got to the Alabama game that this is a little bit different, and this may be something they can sustain. Certainly, they were cool on the recruiting trail. They became one of those programs that they did NIL very well early, and so they had a lot of players looking at them and a chance to upgrade the roster. And then they also, say what you will about Jeremy Pruitt's coaching, which was not particularly great, he did identify some talent and bring in some really good, especially big guys, and I think they've taken advantage of that. That's one thing I thought, talking to the Tennessee coaches last year, they were so ecstatic when they got there from UCF to see what they inherited on the offensive line, because they felt like they were so much more athletic than anything they'd ever had before on the line. It allowed them to expand what they do in the run game, change the offense a little bit, and what you saw was a very tough offense to stop. I mean, the only school that really shut that offense down was Georgia, and South Carolina game was its own weird animal. But I just think they're in position to be good year after year, which is something you kind of wonder would ever happen again at Tennessee. You and I met during the Philip Fulmer era. Mm-hmm. They were ridiculously consistent back then, and then that just stopped happening. I think Josh Heupel might be the kind of guy who can create that consistency. I will say he's probably the perfect guy for that job, because he cares deeply about the players. You can tell players like him. He doesn't give a crap what anybody else says about him, which has been a problem at Tennessee over the years. And it's one of those places where I tell people Tennessee's the highest pressure job in sports other than maybe New York Yankees manager. I think it's a higher pressure job than Alabama. I think it's a higher pressure job than Notre Dame, Ohio State, because it is the most passionate fan base that is obscenely interested in every little thing that happens in the program. Everybody's got something to say about everything that happens. Obviously, like you, Hook, there's a lot of folks who cover the program. Everybody has an opinion. Like, if you are a coach who gets rabbit ears, you have no chance there. None.
No, that's a great point. And also, unlike, say, the Yankees who can go out in free agency, Georgia as in-state talent, Tennessee always has the challenge of overcoming a slight lack of in-state talent.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting as we sit in Nashville. I do wonder, and this is not a now question, but in 20 years, are we talking about Tennessee's in-state talent being significantly better? Sort of like Atlanta now versus Atlanta in the 1990s. Atlanta was a good football town in the 1990s. It is one of the best talent producers in the country now because their population exploded. Nashville's population is exploding too, all of Middle Tennessee. And really, East Tennessee's doing that too. People are moving into Knoxville. People are moving to Chattanooga. So it's possible that part of it gets better. But for now, yes, you do have to cross state lines quite a bit. You need to be able, and I thought Philip Fulmer's coaching staffs did really good jobs with this. They would go to Georgia, they would go to North Carolina, they would go to Virginia. They didn't mind going out to California if they needed to get somebody. And I think Tennessee probably has to recruit. You start regionally, but also go national. And I mean, you look at Nico coming in from Long Beach Poly. If you find the guy you want and that's the right guy, doesn't really matter where he's from.
What are some of the, I'm just going to go in an open-ended question here. What are some of the 2 or 3 storylines, maybe outside of Tennessee, that you're most excited to see how they unfold this year?
Well, we're here on a day when Alabama's here. And I think a Nick Saban with a problem to solve is the most dangerous Nick Saban. He's got a Georgia problem to solve. He's got an LSU problem to solve. The NIL stuff, he talks about it. And it's funny, everybody... It is complaining, but it's complaining with a purpose because he doesn't go home and be like, "Oh man, I wish NIL were different." He doesn't care. All he wants to know are what the set rules are so that he can create the most advantageous situation. And so he's looking at that as kind of a Rubik's Cube in his hand that he needs to solve. And so I just think when he's engaged like that and he's not trying to put out, tell his team, stop listening to everybody telling you how great you are. Nobody's telling them how great they are. I'm pretty sure when the ballots come out tomorrow, that everybody here is going to pick LSU to win the West. Like, Alabama doesn't have to worry about all what Nick Saban calls rat poison right now. They just go ahead and worry about themselves, which, by the way, still loaded at pretty much every position. Now, the quarterback situation is very unknown right now, but talent-wise, they stack up with anybody. So I think that's the thing that I find very interesting because he's not a person you want to have to deal with when he's coming off a loss or coming off a season that didn't stack up the way he wanted to, because he seems to get more engaged and work even harder at that point.
One of the things I'm interested to watch too, and it would be the other great team right now in the past 10 or so years or more in the SEC, and that is Georgia. Mm-hmm. When I look at Georgia, you and I were at a time where we covered Philip Fulmer that I thought he started to let off-field discipline slip a little bit. Mm-hmm. More guys got in trouble. Yeah. And I'm a firm believer, and you play ball for Florida, for those that don't know. I'm a firm believer that when you let off-field discipline slip, and if you're a player, you can get by with stuff, that starts to erode at team chemistry.
Right.
Could that happen at Georgia? They've had a lot of off-field issues, tragic.
I don't see that happening.
Okay.
In terms of eroding team chemistry. What happened was a tragedy, that accident, and they'll tell you that they got to have everybody stop speeding. But if you pull the speeding tickets on every major college football program in America, you're going to see something similar. The attention is on Georgia because, one, they had this tragedy, and two, they just won the national title for the second time in a row. But if you look, I remember as a beat writer covering Tennessee, covering Florida, you do your courthouse checks and a lot of speeding tickets. It's a group of 18 to 22 year olds. You're going to get that, and so I'm not that worried about their chemistry. I mean, Kirby Smart's up here talking about the 2021 class where they've kept 17 of the 20 signees. Almost all of them are contributing a lot. Some of them are going to be first-round draft picks. Like, they've got better chemistry than almost anybody.
Andy Staples, great stuff. You need to check him out on 3. He's going to be throwing hot heat, and always love visiting with him. And I'm looking forward to your show, man. You're going to kill it.
I appreciate it, Dave.
Andy Staples.
Thanks, sir.
Off to Sports more from Nashville SEC Media Days. We've got it covered this week. We'll talk to you.